It's time to go beyond the headlines, cause I don't put in overtime just so I can headline. Okay, now it's Fox Sports, I'm live with Renee. Going hard every day, sports rapping every play. Different segments for your favorites, coming at you daily with positive vibes, yeah, we some game changers. Basketball, football, soccer, with different interviews, you never know who may pop up. Listen, only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines. Only on Beyond the Headlines, this is Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington.
Joining me now on Beyond the Headlines with Renee Washington to get into the NBA duos. We've got host of A Minute Till 6, a brand new show you guys definitely want to check out. That is Mark Haynes joining us from the West Coast. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
No problem at all. Thanks for being here, man. Let's get right into it. So, with all that has happened in the off season, we have seen, well, for me, I think it's so exciting to see. We have seen so many moves that made a power change in the league.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the West is still stronger than the East, don't get me wrong, but we have a much more balanced league now. So we have duos like Kawhi and Paul George with the Clippers. We've got AD and LeBron with the Lakers. Mm-hmm. We've got Russ and James Harden with the Rockets. Mm-hmm. Kyrie and an injured KD with the Nets. I'm missing people, I know, but out of these NBA duos, let's start in LA because we also want to get into how they work together. So in LA with Paul George and Kawhi, how do you think they really work off of each other? What are your thoughts on what we can expect from the Clippers this season?
I think it's like a perfect fit. I think it's probably, you know, it's similar to, you know, LeBron and D-Wade in Miami to me.
Okay.
Probably a little bit better defensively than LeBron and D-Wade at, you know, the Miami days. But I think both of the players, you know, I think they fit for each other perfectly, offensively and defensively. Neither one of them are necessarily volume shooters, even though last year both of them were volume shooters. But majority of their career they played in systems where, you know, they're used to sharing the rock, and I think a part of them teaming up was, you know, they didn't want to be this, you know, volume shooting guy and playing, you know. I think Kawhi played the most minutes ever in this year and stuff, or playoffs for sure, probably. But I think they complement each other, you know, perfectly. And then you add, I know we're talking duels, but you add Pat Beverly there. They're going to easily be the best, you know, beyond the three-point line defending team, you know, in the league easily, because that's what I'm most excited for about, you know, with those two guys. Of course, they can score the rock, but on defense, it's going to be something special.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point you make, because we've been really focusing a lot on the new duos, because it's a league where you honestly need to have two all-stars to at least be competing for a championship. So a big part of that is that you're supporting cast, so to speak. I mean, players like Patrick Beverly with the Clippers, you got with the Lakers, DeMarcus Cousins, and a whole bunch of pieces. You know, that's a big part to it too, because these guys, especially looking across the league, these aren't young guys. You know, these are players in their 30s, or like LeBron that's older in their career. They're not able to play 86 regular season games and you know, sustain through the playoffs. So that's a big part of this too.
Yeah. So that's the Clippers, man. They, you know, on paper, and I'm sure once they step on the court too, they gonna be really, really scary. But you know, the Lakers, like you were talking about the other duos, the Lakers is they're right there. I would like to say the Clippers on paper, you know, they get the nod, but you know, once they get on the court and chemistry starts kicking in and stuff, is, you know, Lakers, it really, to me, I think it depends on LeBron, like how he plays, you know, defense this year, how much effort he gonna put into it. They could be an elite defensive team.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's still LeBron's team, you know.
Right.
You brought Anthony Davidson, you brought in DeMarcus Cousins, you got Kuzma back, you've got other pieces like Avery Bradley and Rondo, Danny Green. They have on paper, much like the Clippers, a roster that looks like they can easily, or should be, I shouldn't say easily, nothing's easy in the league, but they should be a top team in the league and definitely a championship possible.
Right.
You know, health is a big part of that, especially looking at the Lakers roster. I mean, Kawhi and Paul George of the Clippers, to me, are a little bit better built for the longevity of the season. Unfortunately, LeBron, AD, and DeMarcus Cousins specifically coming off of injuries, not even looking at the rest of the roster, that's something that you have to keep in mind too. You know, these are players that haven't been able to play a lot of games over the last couple of years.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the key. Like as we seen in the finals this year with the Warriors breaking down, you know, injury, you know, being healthy is everything. Like on paper, like we said, we're talking the Clippers, we're talking the Lakers. You know, we're not talking, you know, Brooklyn because of an injury. But
exactly,
one injury could change, you know, everything. And now there's no super teams out there really, and one guy goes down, that could be, you know, that could cost you, you know, even missing the playoffs.
Yes, that's a great point. I mean, you look at the closest of both divisions, like the East and the West. The conferences are so close. Now, East to the West is not as close. The West has much more dominance. But anybody, honestly, in July cannot easily pick 8 teams that are making the playoffs. So that's a great point that you make. One injury, you know, something happens, and it could change the entire postseason for a team and keep them out of it. Now, looking at the Rockets with James Harden and Russell Westbrook, how do you think these two work together? I mean, they haven't played together, well, all-star games, whatever, it doesn't count.
Right.
Well, it counts, but I'm talking like a full season together since back in OKC. And at that time, James Harden was the sixth man. You know, that's what he was known as. And then it wasn't until he left OKC that he became one of the, you know, an MVP and one of the top scorers in the league. We know Russell is a top scorer in the league, can average triple-doubles like it's nothing. So how did these two work together and help the Rockets with, after what I think was a disappointment that they didn't beat the Warriors in Game 6 once KD went down. So they're looking to rebound. How do you think they move forward with these two leading the way? Who's the go-to guy, or do you think they just kind of work more like, you know,
just
off of each other, I guess? Number one and number one.
It's gonna be that's a hard one to answer because I'm not sure how it's gonna look. Because like you said, when the last time they played with each other, you know, James was a sixth man. He was clearly, you know, a third option to KD and Russ back in OKC. Right. And now he's you know, like you say, lead the league in scoring, won MVP, and you know, he's a superstar, and this is his team. You know what I mean? The Houston Rockets is James Harden's team. But now you bring in Russell Westbrook, who's, you know, I think he understands that, you know, this is James's team, and he can't just come and take over and take it. But that could, you know, be detrimental to Russ, because Russ is, you know, he's going at 100 miles per hour. He's giving maximum effort, and this. I mean, I take that back. Now that I'm talking about, I wouldn't say detrimental. This could be really good for Russ, actually. Right. It might force him to slow his game down a little bit, because he'll have to play off of James. And if anything other than that happens, it'll be nothing but bad for Houston. And it's gonna take a while. I think they're gonna have a slow start, you know, to the season. I don't think they go you know, just come out, you know, running the table or anything like that. But they gonna have to figure it out. And if they do figure it out, they could be scary, because they're still a good team. So
and I think a lot of people are sleeping on them because of, you know, okay, first of all, let's just put it out there. Every player wants to win. So something they always say is this guy has to have the ball in his hands. This guy has to have the ball in his hands. He wants to, you know, James Harden does dribble the air out of the ball, though, all jokes aside. He does. The amount of times he dribbles is unreal. But that being said...
And he'll walk with it, too.
Yes, he will. He'll walk and dribble for a solid 30 seconds before he does anything. But that being said, these guys want to win championships. So their pride is one thing, but championships is a whole other thing. They're going to put that aside to be able to work together to beat, whoever it is they're up against in the playoffs, in the championship. So I think that's something that we overlook because we're just so quick to say James Harden likes to travel and dribble the air out of the ball, which is true, but he's going to have to be a different James Harden now. So I think they can, right, and we know Russ can get assists. We know he can get rebounds, so maybe his role just changes a little, but, hey, they could both be getting triple-doubles for Russ and James Harden scoring over 30 points a game again. So I don't know. Go ahead.
I think long as they figure it out, which I believe they will. Like you said, they're older, they're professionals, they're elite professionals. I think Russ get a real he got a bad. His name is bad to a lot of media members. Like they like to say he's not a good teammate. Everybody keeps leaving him, and all that. And I don't really. In all the sports I've played, I've never played with somebody who gives maximum effort that I could consider a bad teammate. It's not to say he's the best this or best that, but each and every night he's gonna give you 100%, and I don't understand how that could be a bad thing. So I think, and Russ and James, they both from the L.A. area, California, they knew each other. Like you said, the hunger to win. They both have accolades. They both have MVPs. They both have their own individual awards, and they've done it all. But neither one of them has won the chip. So
exactly,
I think that's all this is about. I don't think it's about the triple doubles or scoring titles or anything. Because as you see, like we consider, or people are considering Kawhi Leonard, arguably, the best player in the world right now. And it's really a matter of him just winning the championship. If you get to the championship and you win, you automatically get stuck in that conversation. And James Harden and Westbrook, I know they both want that. And plus,
exactly,
the championship, that's all it's about.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, that's at the end of the day, these guys want to win championships. Breaking records for the amount of triple doubles you get or how many points you average is great and all, but when we talk about the legacy players lead, we usually talk about rings.
Right. Right.
I do think Russell Westbrook. I'm so glad you said that because I think he's a very good player, and it kills me when I see how much flack he gets because everyone wants to say everyone leaves him. He's a bad teammate. He's hard. He's hard to play with. He has to this, that, and the 30, selfish, whatever. And the guy is averaging triple doubles for a reason.
Right.
He's passing the ball. He's not just a guy. And James Harden, ironically, is someone that you don't always see. And there's other players too, but he's just the first that comes to mind. You don't always see them busting their butt defensively. You don't always see them crashing the boards. You can't say that about Russ. His effort cannot be overlooked because he consistently brings it.
Every night.
So then I'm going to switch gears on you a little bit. We're talking about some of the more seasoned duos, but I actually saw a post, and I wanted to ask you this question. I thought it was perfect. There are some young duos, some up-and-coming duos, so to speak. So, we've got in Denver the Joker and Jamal Murray. In Philly, we've got Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. The Suns have Booker and DeAndre Ayton. The Mavs have KP and Luka. Who's a young and up-and-coming duo that, of course, they're in their own conferences, which in itself is going to be tough, especially in the West. But which is a young duo out of that group that you think is going to be able to really make a lot of noise for their franchise? These are franchises that, aside from the Sixers, who we saw make a good run in the playoffs last year, and the Nuggets too, they're kind of an up-and-coming team. Who do you think kind of turns that corner this year with their team?
Man, that's a tough one because I'm really intrigued with Dallas and with Luka and Porzingis. I really can't picture it right now, and that's what's hard right now. I was just gonna one of my buddies the other day about it. I think that's probably my favorite one out of the young ones that I want to pay attention to because I feel like they could either be really good, it could be just a bad fit. And then in the Western Conference, you you could be a good team in the Western Conference with a horrible record. So I'm like, I don't know, like if it would be considered, they're, failing just because they're not doing good, or the West is really tough. But I'm really excited and intrigued to see them, because I think with them both being so young and talented. Luka just came off of winning the Rookie of the Year. If Porzingis can come back and be, stay on pace to being as good as like he possibly could be, being 7'4" or 5", whatever he is, I think they can be a tag team that could really do some damage and make some noise. But then of course you got the Joker in them, and with Jamal Murray, and this could be the year they get over the hump, and but I ain't gonna say, when I say that, I take that back. I can't say that because I don't believe they beat the Lakers or the Clippers. But
it's July, so why not go with some bold prediction? Throw it out there.
I'll leave it out there. Yeah, maybe they get over the hump. Who knows? They got some young guys there, and they're by far to me the deepest team. But I don't know if that, Well, like I said, I'll stick to it. That might get them over the hump. There you go.
There you go. Stick with your original thought. I like the Mavs take that you have on Kristaps Porzingis and Luka Doncic, because Luka had the chance to play with Dirk Nowitzki last season, which to me is very ironic, because I feel like Porzingis, not just because they're both tall with an incredible wingspan, but the way they play is actually very similar. Porzingis reminds me of a young Dirk. So I wonder how much that is actually going to really play into it, because it's like he's getting Nowitzki back, but in a sense, he's a younger. Hopefully, Porzingis can stay healthy, of course. So that's going to be incredible to see how those two really mesh, with him coming off Rookie of the Year and Porzingis coming off of a disappointing time in New York with the Knicks. Now, hopefully, getting maybe a little revived feeling as he steps back on the court. So. He's got to be feeling good to get out of there. Absolutely. It's like you're out of the fire. He made it. So going from the Knicks to Dallas with a much better team. Unfortunately, now you do move, as you say, move to the Western Conference. So there's a whole other beast in itself. But it's more promising, at least with the players around him. So we'll see. I don't know. I'm excited for the season. July, and the season can't get here soon enough. But, Mark, thank you so much for joining us this week to discuss the duos around the league. Where can we follow you on social media? What are your handles?
My handles on Twitter and Instagram are both MH the Champ. That's MH and then DA Champ. So you can follow me there, MH the Champ.
Yes, and definitely also check out Mark's show, A Minute Till 6. Brand new show. Good stuff. And I'm excited for you with all you've got going on, too, across all your coverage. So thank you so much for joining us this week.